The point that I would particularly like to raise to the House is that of the growth of Foodbank use, which has been very significant across the country, and our area is typical in so many ways, as indeed it is in many instances in life. And I believe the growth in the use of food banks is an illustration of why the budget was such a complete failure, because the government failed, in my opinion, to offer real help to many families. In particular, it offered very little to those, as we've heard earlier from the Shadow Minister, in the greatest need. It offered very little to those who are self-employed and who've recently set up a small business. And indeed, the 3 Million campaign group quite rightly pointed out that some of the measures, although a small number will benefit from some further support for recently set up small businesses, most will not, and that has been widely recognised in my constituency. Before going into the detail of local food banks, I would like to thank all the volunteers, our local council in Reading, and many other people who've helped support food banks, both businesses and individuals who've very generously given their time and have put the community and others first at what is a very difficult time for so many people. I've tried to keep in touch with the pressures that have been faced by going to help myself and to receive regular briefings from food banks and other charities. And I wanted to describe to colleagues in the House what this is like. As many people know, Reading obviously is a town in the south of England. It's relatively well off. We're lucky to be in an area with quite a high level of employment, many advanced industries like IT, and lots of people have, I think it's fairly safe to say, fairly good jobs, but many people under great pressure. And I've helped in a number of food banks. One in particular I wanted to draw the House's attention to, which is in the suburb of Woodley, which is a typical suburb on the edge of a large town, full of relatively well-off families, and I had to deliver food parcels to them. And behind the front door of neat houses in suburban areas was real poverty caused by the pandemic, families under real pressure, and the gratitude that people had when they were receiving food parcels was quite overwhelming. And I just wanted to make that point because I think it's so important that people across the House understand what this pandemic is like for ordinary people around the country. And indeed, this is just one example. There are people in far greater need who are in need of greater help. But I just wanted to make that point and to express my own sense of gratitude to those who are helping the voluntary sector, and to just remind people what this really means and what Clause 5 and the other clauses are really about. They're about families struggling under really trying and difficult circumstances through no fault of their own. And I would just urge the Minister, I know he's a very decent man, to rethink this and lobby his colleagues, in particular the Chancellor, who I'm afraid has a bit of a habit of dashing in with some very warm words, but perhaps could look further and look again at some of the detail here, because families really do need that help at this difficult time. Thank you.
Number 13 is withdrawn.